Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. It is a nice, cool morning here in the Ozarks, and today is going to be an exciting day, especially for Sarah.
You guys, in this trailer behind me are just like tons of buckets of my herbs. Now, there's kind of a backstory about these herbs. I have been looking for a permanent place for me to grow herbs, not only for cooking, but for medicinal reasons. And I just have not found where I want to have this permanent herb garden here at the homestead property. So all along, I have been still growing herbs, and over the last couple of years, I've really increased the number of them, and I've just put them in these big Crystallix buckets, or these cattle mineral lick buckets, so that I at least have them growing and until I find the permanent, perfect place for an herb garden.
Yeah, Sarah was always kind of discouraged that she just never could find the right place here at the homestead. And we always just said, well, we'll keep doing what we're doing, and eventually the right place, you know, God will just kind of tell us where the right place is. Well, in hindsight, it was a perfect thing that we never found the right place here, because the right place is going to be down at the farm.
Right. Now, had I found a permanent place here at the homestead and had all these beautiful herbs, there, you know, I could have dug them up or dug portions of them up to move down there, but it has just worked out perfectly to grow them in these big buckets, and I'm just going to move them down there to the farm. Now, this summer and this fall are going to be so busy. I'm not sure I'm going to have time to plant them in a permanent place, and to be honest, I don't know what the permanent perfect place is at the farm either, but what is exciting is that today we're going to move them from the homestead to the farm property to their temporary permanent place.
Right. We're going to put them around the greenhouse down at the farm.
Similar to what we have done here.
Right.
But today is the big moving day for my herbs.
So we're going to hop in the truck. We're going to drive these down to the farm. As we're unloading them, Sarah can tell you what each one of them is and their purpose on the homestead.
Well, we're here. We're going to line up all of these buckets along the side of the greenhouse. We're starting with my favorite spearmint that I got from a friend. We love this in tea. It's the first one out of the trailer. Next up is some thyme. I use this in my cooking. This is catnip. We use this medicinally. Now, I'm not going to be going over the medicinal uses of any of these herbs. You can definitely find that in many herbal resources. This is Korean hyssop. We use this medicinally.
And it's great for tea.
This is anise hyssop. This is Kevin's favorite tea of all time.
Right.
We also do use this medicinally.
It's super sweet. It reminds me of root beer barrels from when we were kids. That's what it reminds me of.
Bee balm, we use this medicinally. Sage for our cooking. This is marshmallow for herbal medicines. These next 3 buckets are strawberries.
And we already have strawberries on.
Yep. This is oregano, and we use it in our cooking. This is horseradish. We need a permanent spot for this.
Yeah.
But
last year we actually had some escape out of this tub, and horseradish can be pretty invasive, so we need to find a spot where we can put this in the ground somewhere where we don't mind that it gets huge.
these next 3 buckets are all comfrey. We use comfrey medicinally, but we also use it to make a homemade fertilizer for our plants. Well, that is a good job done. I'm so excited to have all my herbs here at the farm.
All right, time to move on to the next project. So our next project for the day is going to be finishing up our corral and our loading chute so that we can back our trailer up. And today is the day that we're actually going to be taking our steer, Hudson, to the butcher.
This day has been about 20 months in the making. Hudson is our very first steer that we have ever raised for meat for our family.
Yeah.
And we started with him as a calf that we brought on to our homestead to be a second calf for our very first milk cow, Hope. And we are very excited to have gone through that entire process with him, that today is the day that we've been working for and raising him for, which is to supply our family with amazing grass-fed beef.
Now, we understand that for some of you, this is something that you would have a very hard time with, raising an animal for almost 2 years and then ultimately taking it to the butcher to become food for your family. We completely understand that mentality. It's not something that is enjoyable. It's not something you look forward to, but it is something that is a very basic part of living the homesteading lifestyle. Really, as a homesteader, most of your time and effort is going into food production of some kind. And for us, putting the last almost 2 years into raising this steer, today is really just the end result of all of our work.
Now, I know a lot of you also feel like, oh, you could never do that. It's just easier for you to go to the store and buy the prepackaged meat so you don't have to think about that part of the process. And really, you know, if you think about it, all of those packages at some point were a living creature that had a face, and not necessarily a name because most of them are raised in mass, but by homesteading and taking the control of that, you really have more control over how nutritious that meat is and how well that animal was raised and treated.
You know, he got to spend his days out in the sun. He had, you know, good quality water. And so we just know that he had a good life. And because of the good, nutritious food that he had, he will be good, nutritious food for us.
So today is the day that we need to kind of resurrect the corral system that was here on this farm property for a long time. They used that for probably 40 plus years.
Right.
And, you know, it's had some revisions and fix-ups over that time, you can kind of tell. And you know what? For right now, it is pretty much just good enough for what we need.
Right.
There are just a few things that we need to fix, a couple things we need to change so that we can load Hudson into the trailer to go to the butcher.
Right. Yeah. Eventually, someday we'd love to have a nice, brand new, shiny corral system, but for right now, this old one is going to do the job.
Yep.
Like Sarah said, there's just a couple things we need to kind of resurrect on it. We need to add a new alleyway that we'll back our trailer up to, because the old wooden alleyway kind of gave out this last time that we tried to put a cow in there actually to
treat her,
to give her some a shot when she had an abscess on her foot. And when she was kind of backing out, she wasn't even flailing around. She was just trying to back out. And when she did, she ran into the side and it pretty much just fell over.
Right,
So we need to do something a little bit better than that today. So we're going to get to work. So before we start working on the corral system again, I want to show you guys quickly kind of how it works. So up in this area, this is a big lot that we call our barn lot because it's the lot right here in front of the barn. We'll move the cattle that we want to put through the corral system up into this area first. Today it's going to be our steer Hudson. Now right now he's living with our dairy cows. Now Hudson is a dairy steer. We actually bought him from a dairy. So when you see him later in this video, you may realize that he looks more like a dairy breed than a beef breed of cattle. And that's why, because he is. He came from parents who were dairy breeds. All right, so let's go over this way and I'll show you how this works. Once we have the cattle up in this barn lot, the next thing we do is we'll move them down this path right here. There's a little gate right here that we have open right now, and we have a path mowed here. So they'll come down this path, and this is what leads to our catch pen. So let's walk down here and take a look at that. So here at the end of that trail is the catch pen. It's got a gate here that can shut. And what we'll do is we'll get Hudson into this area. And then this is a nice little pen that he can stay in for a while until we're ready to load him into the trailer. When we're ready to load him into the trailer, we'll move him over to this way here. And then this is what we need to work on today. All of the fencing around here, while it's old and it may not look the best anymore, it's actually still pretty solid. So we're not going to worry about replacing all of this right now. Probably not for a couple of years at least. We're going to just leave it the way it is because it's still in workable condition. But over here, the alleyway, like I said, that collapsed. So we do need to work on that today. We're going to basically make a new alleyway out of corral panels. It's going to be 12 feet long. It'll be 32 inches wide. And then we'll be able to back our trailer right up to that to get Hudson into the trailer. So we're over by the area where we need to build the loading chute. First thing that we need to do really is just to disassemble some of the things that are currently there and to just do some cleanup. Old wood that's laying around, make sure there's no nails or anything on the ground. And then we can start actually constructing the new chute. All right.
Where should I?
Just leave it over there by that other old gate.
Heck yeah.
Order for something.
This next one though has ants in it, so. Watch your toes. Hey, that's heavier than the other two were. Watch for snakes. Oh, it's too bad that's such a cute gate. Don't you guys just love this old gate? I don't think it's usable anymore, but we could use it as a template to make a new one someday. I just love this old gate.
You may notice in this opening here that there's actually two openings. There's this opening here, and then there's kind of an opening here. This used to have a ramp here for loading sheep and goats and things like that. And this piece of fence here would swing on the inside so they could block off this opening and load them through that ramp instead of just here. We're not going to use that anymore. We're actually going to put a T-post right here, and then we're going to run our alley out this way with our corral panels. So we need to put a T-post there, and then we'll put our first. I think maybe we should put this corral panel in first.
That's what I was thinking.
And then that one can be the one that adjusts
right
to the 32-inch mark.
Okay.
On the inside.
Oh.
So we're getting our second panel here hooked up. This is about 34 inches wide right here at where it begins, but at the end we want it to be 32 inches. The reason that we want that is because we just recently purchased a squeeze chute that will eventually go at the end of this alley, and that squeeze chute is 32 inches wide. So we need this to be the right width, so when we bring that squeeze chute over, it can go here and fit right at the end of this alley. We're not ready to do that today because we need to do some leveling and things here to get ready for that. And we may end up having to take these off temporarily, so but that's why we want this to be 32 inches. All right, our alleyway is complete. I think this is going to be good. And now the next thing that we need to do is, before we start trying to move Hudson over into this area, is that we need to back the trailer up, because right now if he were to get in here he could also just get right back out. So we're going to back our livestock trailer up here, get it all set, so hopefully when he comes into this area we can push him right into here.
Slowly. Little more. Little more. About 4 inches. That'll do. That's good. Good job.
Well, we're back from taking our steer to the butcher. Everything went very smoothly. We asked him, they didn't weigh him when we dropped him off. They'll weigh him probably just before they process him, but they figured that he probably weighed about 850 pounds.
That's not a lot of weight for a true beef breed, but for a dairy breed, I'm pretty happy with that for 20 months old.
Especially since we didn't grain feed him at all. We didn't finish him on grain. He was 100% grass-fed, which is what we wanted. So we knew he'd be a little less than a steer that had been grain-fed.
They said that we'll probably get him back, all the packages and everything, in about 3 weeks. So we're really, really excited.
So we do understand that this video is probably a little bittersweet for some of you, but you guys, this is the reality of homesteading. This is exactly why we put so much time and effort into raising our animals and giving them a good life, so that when we take them to turn into food for our family, we know that we're getting good, nutritious food.
So you guys, we hope that you enjoyed spending some time with us today as we did a couple things around the homestead. If you're enjoying our videos, we'd sure like for you to hit the subscribe button below. And as always, the best way you can help us here on the homestead is just to share our videos on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.